and welcome to another episode of Raising the Bar, bringing you extraordinary stories of ordinary people in Hong Kong to inspire you to continue to raise the bar of your lives. So today we're excited to have Maura Thompson with us. Maura is the co-founder of Sassy, and Sassy would be, I think, the most popular online resource for women in Hong Kong and internationally now. It's a go-to site to know what's hip and what's happening. So welcome and thank you for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
So Maura, we wanted to start off by just asking you to share your story. What inspired you to start Sassy? How did this first come about?
So my Sassy story started really when I first moved here to Hong Kong. I moved here in 2008, literally 2 days after my wedding.
Wow.
So it was a lot of life changes at once, and for the first year I really got comfortable with the city, kind of got my bearings in terms of my new life. But a year after living here, myself and a few friends, we kind of were sitting around and we wished that there was something more. Really, we were yearning for something to connect us with other, girls in the city, so we can kind of, make friends and get to know, some of the great things that were happening around town. So really, the idea behind it happened after a girly lunch. Really with the idea to start, doing events for girls so they can connect with each other, make friends, and then also have a website so they had an online destination of knowing the latest and greatest things that were happening around town.
Okay, great. So it started from your own need to connect with people in Hong Kong, being new here, not knowing so many people or what's going on.
100% totally selfish.
Wow.
I wanted to make new friends. I wanted to make friends. I wanted to know what was happening around town, and it's been amazing 6 years in to still have girlfriends that I met at one of the first few events that we had. So it really, and when I think about kind of the intent as to why it happened, it was selfish, as most kind of small businesses are, in terms of not finding something that you were interested in and then having to create something yourself.
Well, and did you ever imagine that it would be as big as it is today, and you will be telling all of Hong Kong what's happening?
Absolutely never. I mean, we really started with doing kind of small happy hours around town, and then also kind of just blogging about our daily lives. And I will always say that our happy hours, which we call Sassy hours, we started, I think, with 6 or 7 people attending, and we were 3 of them representing Sassy. So we had a really small number of girls outside of kind of the Sassy founders who attended. So while that was small, we kind of were like, okay, it was a good start. And then next month we had 35 people, and then it was 75 to 100.
Wow.
So I think by month 4 or 5, we had a packed bar on Wyndham Street, where we literally couldn't squeeze in another girl.
Wow.
So I think it was the sort of thing where I never thought that we would be where we are today.
Yes.
But it was the sort of thing where it was kind of in the beginning, we saw small glimpses as to we have something. This idea is working, it's connecting with people. But still today, I still pinch myself when I walk into our office and see Sassy HQ with all these fabulous women working on it.
Wow, I can imagine. And that's exponential growth, as you said, from 6 to 30 to 75. And thank you for sharing that it started off with 6 and you guys being the first 3 of those, because many people look at a business as successful in yours and think, oh wow, that's great, and it's always been like that. And many times it hasn't. Every business has had its moments and had its own struggles and challenges.
Totally, 100%. I mean, it hasn't always been, kind of this model that we have now. We started with the idea over lunch. Next day it's okay, let's create this website. First meeting, I remember happening in my apartment, where I sat there and I said, I'm not a writer, I'm not blogging, this is I'm out if this is what I have to do. So there was a lot of things in the beginning where we're we were unsure about kind of what we were doing. There wasn't a business plan. We kind of just learned as we went. I slowly got comfortable writing on the site, and I don't do much anymore, but I was one of the consistent writers in the beginning. But we didn't have a really solid plan. We just kind of we figured it out as we went along, but we were very, very diligent at staying motivated at what we were doing.
What do you think was the turning point that shifted it from a hobby and something for yourself to actually getting it to be a business? What was that turning point for you?
And I feel like there's a number of different turning points in our Sassy story. The one thing for us in the very beginnings, we started this in 2009. Towards the end of 2009, it was, we were having our happy hour event. We were writing about, you know, cool things that we've done, places that, you know, we went to over the weekend, you know, restaurants that we ate at. But it was when companies also started to contact us and say, you know, we have this new spell treatment. We would love to have you girls try it out. Like, you know, we keep hearing about Sassy around town. You know, people keep telling us that we should connect with you. So I think, you know, when we started to work with businesses and knew that we had, you know, a really great, you know, following of girls who trusted in our opinions, and we really kind of always stayed true to, like, the word Sassy approved. We wrote about things that we enjoyed. We didn't just write about things that were popping up, you know, in Hong Kong for the sake of it. It was really like, if we thought that our readers would enjoy it, we wrote about it. And because there was just more than one person kind of behind the scenes, we had a really good kind of like representation in terms of what people would enjoy. So for us, you know, that, you know, one turning point is when companies started to come to us and say, like, listen, we keep hearing about you. That's kind of when we're like, oh, beyond this being like this like really great hobby that, you know, we're able to make a lot of friends through and write about cool things, like there could be a business element as well to it. So that has kind of been, you know, kind of like, I guess, the first turning point. Okay. Yeah. And when you started getting that business element, what did you think that Sassy actually stood for? Has it shifted in terms of its branding? Like what does Sassy stand for today? Back then, I mean, Sassy was always, you know, this destination where girls can connect with each other, make friends, and know what was happening in the city. That hasn't changed, you know, over time, but, you know, kind of over time, our direction has changed in terms of, like, what we're able to focus on. And from a personal point of view, I remember you saying you never envisioned yourself being an entrepreneur. So how has this been for you personally, this journey? You're 100%. Like, I was not the girl in grade school, high school, college that said, you know, someday I'm going to own a business, I'm going to be the boss of it. Like, I just, that was never my dream, and it was something that I never thought that I had the confidence, I guess, to do. So it has been an amazing ride to see kind of like 6 years into this, you know. Yeah, you know, it's only been 6 years. I know, it's crazy. But it's been very interesting for me from a growth perspective as well, like to be able to even like walk into the office and be like, oh my gosh, you know, seeing all of the girls working on this like amazing business, like I can't believe that, like, you know, we've built this, but I also can't believe that, I don't know, just in terms of now running my own business, like I never thought that was in my cards, and it's really like amazing to see now that this is my story. Yes. And I feel like this is actually like the biggest part of my story as it relates to my life, you know, mainly because not only from the business side of Sassy and what we've been able to achieve through that, it's really from a personal, you know, development point of view. I didn't expect to be that entrepreneur. I didn't expect to be the person who loved talking to people and wanting to like sit on a forum and tell about the Sassy story. So for me, it's really been this amazing shift for me, both professionally and personally, in terms of kind of, you know, where this path has taken me. Wow. And for you, on a personal note, what would you say has been like your biggest learning in this? What have you learned about yourself in this whole journey? Wow, so many things. What I've learned about myself, I guess from a personal, you know, point of view, is that confidence, really. You know, like I said, like I feel like before I was a bit more shy, I was a bit more timid, and I think because of Sassy and because I've worked so hard at it, and I really feel like I have something to be proud of, and I always, I mean, I feel like I definitely have that type A personality in me, in that perfectionist, like I was in sports growing up, so I have that in me, but I feel like, you know, having the confidence and being able to walk into a room and be like, I'm okay to like talk to anyone in here because it's because I have confidence to be able to do so. So I think that has been a really interesting journey for me that I've learned through Sassy. And then of course, like there's many things I've learned on the business side as well. So you've come from a place where you've done something that was true to you, that was real, you came from an authentic place of connecting, and now you have a real story to share, which is obviously built on your confidence.
Could you tell us about some of the challenges that you've had to go through? Because I know that once again, people look at what you've done and they think this is great, and I'm sure they can learn a lot from the challenges that you've had to go through.
Definitely. I think for me, because I, every so often speak on panels and talk about the Sassy story, and for me, what I always want to make sure that people leave with is, yes, the success stories are great. Like, I can love to talk, I love to talk about, we were 6 people and then we are 100 people 4 months later. That's amazing. But for me, it's really kind of talking about things that I learned along the way, the mistakes that happened, because I think as a small business owner, you have to prepare yourself for these things. And I think for me, one of the biggest mistakes I think I personally made in the beginning was thinking that everyone else knew what they were doing.
Okay.
Like, I remember, when we started this up, we were a small business, and I think the idea of having a business, it scared me. So I didn't really know anything about it. And so I think for me, it was a sort of thing where I was a bit scared to ask for help, because I thought, I would go to these networking events and it just seemed like everyone, they were handing out their business cards, they were talking about their business, and it seemed like, oh wow, they must have their accounting in order, they must know exactly how they're doing their PR plan, they must know exactly about what all the company ordinances, rules, and regulations are. I just thought everyone knew that, and I didn't. So I think, I think it took me some time, I kind of just tried to fake it till I made it, which luckily worked out. But I think for me, it's reaching out early on and saying, hey, I don't know about accounting. Do you know who I should be talking to?
Okay.
Because, I think for me, the best thing, I remember having a lunch with a fellow entrepreneur, and she was like, I don't know what I'm doing either. I struggle with da-da-da-da. And then it helped me to be able to voice, I don't know this, where do I find the answer? Because as a small business owner, I think, in the beginning, you have to do everything.
Yes.
And it's part of the thing that, you sign up for in a way. You have to wear a lot of hats. But I think it doesn't mean you have to physically do everything. You should be responsible. You need to find the right people to talk to help you out. So that's, I think, one mistake I made.
Just before we end, I wanted to ask you to give maybe some words of wisdom or advice for someone out there that probably has an idea, doesn't know what to do with it, wants to get started. What would you advise this woman or this person?
I think talk to people who are doing something in Hong Kong. I think, for me, I, often talk on panels about how to start your own business, but for me, it's really, if you're looking to start something, connect with people who are entrepreneurs. It doesn't have to be someone that's doing the same thing in the same industry. I think meeting with someone and knowing the positives, the negatives to it, I think is probably step number one. I said we didn't do a business plan. I won't sit here and be like, the golden rule is don't do a business plan. You should probably do a business plan. But I think it's beyond that. It's really kind of, I think connecting with the people around you. But again, diligence, really kind of making sure that if you're going to do it, then you have to really put your all into it. I know, there's a lot of people who, I meet who are looking to start something, but then they can't quit their full-time job, and I totally get that, right? So I think it's really trying to figure out how you're going to make that work, because starting your own business, you need to work really hard on it. So thinking true to yourself, that if I have to continue doing my full-time job, how am I going to make this successful in the amount of hours that I have?
Being realistic about it.
Be realistic. And then also just start. Just start, maybe just start. If you're looking to do a blog, just start blogging. Sending it to friends, kind of, working with, for instance, if, we have so many bloggers that are, looking to do different things, that we're looking for amazing content, right? Trying to connect with, other people that might not be doing something similar, but it's tapping into a very similar market to you. So then you can kind of start kind of making connections from there. But
just get started.
Exactly. Done is better than perfect.
Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing your journey. I'm sure all of us are very inspired by yourself, and to know the actual story of Sassy. It's a household name now. Everybody knows about it, and I'm sure you'll soar into even greater heights of success.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.